intersection of good drinks, good music, and good times. This is Hops and Spirits Bar Conversations.
I think we're in for another fun episode as I have a guest with me who's been putting out some really good music, and by the time this episode drops, his band's album will be out now. He's the namesake of Jason Scott and the High Heat. Their album American Grin is out now. Let's welcome in the country artist songwriter Jason Scott.
Thanks for having me, man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for taking some time to chat with us and talk about this album. But before we get to that, this is Bar Conversations. I know you're out doing some family things and having a little relaxation. But this is Bar Conversations. So what's your go-to drink these days?
Right now there's a couple bottles of Dickel at the house. And we just were given those from doing some South by Southwest stuff. So that's what's currently in the cabinet. But I like good bourbons. I kind of like a lot of different alcohols, to be honest. I like a good gin martini, and I like kind of savory stuff over sweeter.
Okay.
But I'm a big fan of like Hendrick's gin. Baker's bourbon is also good. We recently got to write a song for a brewery here in Oklahoma called Lively Brewing Company, and they have a new beer called Cowboy Cold Beer, and it's just kind of a everyman's daily drinker, and it's a great beer. I think the premise is like you can drink it cold or warm. It's Cowboy Cold Beer is like room temp beer, which I don't recommend to anyone, but we've been drinking some of that lately. So
nice. Now, are you a wine guy too? I mean, I feel like you checked off all the other boxes.
Yeah, but not like it's not what I order. You know what I mean? I'll definitely drink it, and also I'm a big fan of the wine feeling. It's so like warm, and it's a good drink. And with food too. Sometimes to pair stuff.
So just kind of depends on the mood and what you got going on.
What are you drinking?
So I don't have any Oklahoma bourbon or whiskey. That's the one area I'm lacking a little bit. I got Texas, but I was like, I don't think he'd love me to go to Texas if he's a true Oklahoman. So I went with something just a little more easy, a little 15 stars, a little Timeless Reserve 13-year bourbon. So
nice, dude. I've never heard of it.
So they make, I don't know the name of what they do. Their day job, so to speak, was that they do popcorn. They're like one of the biggest popcorn people in Indiana. And then they got into bourbon, and eventually they're going to start using some of that popcorn in their bourbon.
Nice.
So, like the for the corn, like the red and black and all that. So
Sure.
we'll see what happens. But
would try that for sure. I'm drinking water in spirit with you.
Well, I appreciate that. And speaking of in spirit, did you get your start in all of this in church? Is that where all this started for you, music and everything?
Yeah, what a segue. I grew up Pentecostal, for most of my young life. And from there, they usually get the kids involved in singing and music pretty early on. So I was just exposed from and my family's, musical, and friends' families, and it's just kind of part of growing up in that kind of environment. Pentecostal music is very expressive, and I think some of that kind of translates to our live energy. But yeah, I my roots are definitely based in one of the more intense religions.
Well, and not only that, you ended up, because I believe your family was, very involved with the church, that your dad may be a pastor or something like that, and you ended up being a youth pastor and a worship leader too, right?
Sure. Yeah. Right before I got out, I was kind of really getting into a lot more like preaching and stuff. But yeah, I had been worship pastor for 3 or 4 years at the church I was at, which again was also, very helpful in building who I am as an artist today. And, you learn things from having to continually put set lists together, whether they're secular or, in the church, and, just working with people. So I'm thankful for that exposure too. I learned a lot through that time period.
Well, and and because of that, you didn't really grow up then with the typical, quote unquote pop culture experience or exposure. And I've enjoyed reading a few interviews where people, some of your bandmates would be like, "Yeah, we tell him about this song, and have no clue."
Yeah, I've kind of been out of the church thing for, going on 10 plus years now. So I've caught up a lot more. But through the process of these last three records, people ask like who my biggest influence is. We get asked that all the time, and I always tell them it's Taylor Johnson, the guy who I wrote and produced these last few records with. He would give me homework. I mean, you go home and you're listening to nothing but Jerry Reed or this Beatles album or whatever. And some of that you can hear, like we have a song called Yard Work that's coming out on Friday with the record, and it was a lot of Jerry Reed we were listening to in the studio and outside of it. So I think to them it's been cool to like share their different lifelong musical, passions, and it's also fun to kind of shock them every time that there's a song they think I should know and don't. But I'm starting to catch up now, so.
Well, and I think you read too where watching the Goonies in your 20s for the first time just didn't do it for you like it would when you were younger.
I feel so bad because these everybody quotes these old kid movies, and there's been so much time that's passed and better, videography and stuff, and I just, some of it I don't get. But if I was, 5 to 12, maybe I'd be a big Goonies fan. I'd like to apologize too. No offense.
I don't think that there's any take in there. I think everyone
Right.
has, what they love. And is it true too? You had an uncle who was maybe a little rebellious, maybe still to this day, that would let you listen to country music and
Sure.
kind of maybe give you a little bit of exposure, though.
Yeah, my uncle Jeff, my dad's brother. Yeah, he was always he's the John Anderson's black sheep of the family for sure, and he'd be proud to have that label. But yeah, I kind of always, because I wasn't allowed to listen to any of that stuff, I would sneak around and try to just absorb something outside of a church environment. And he was definitely an outlet. He had this cool old I think it was like black and yellow Bronco, like the 80s, that classic big body Bronco, and he'd let me listen to all kinds of stuff out in the Bronco. I think I heard Conway Twitty for the first time in Uncle Jeff's Bronco.
So, I mean, and you talk about it like, you don't have the same, when I ask this question to others, they can go, well, I grew up on the classics or maybe those 90s country
Sure.
or whatever. So
Yeah.
then did any of the artists that you were listening to with your uncle rub off on you, or was it just kind of, what music then did you kind of grow up on, or kind of maybe made an impact on you as you went on?
Well, bluegrass was always like safe, you know what I mean, in kind of the Christian environments, and there's a lot of that stuff that is intertwined, anyways. But and there'd be country songs that kind of snuck through the cracks too that I'd catch my mom listen to or something like that. So a lot of like '90s country and earlier country. I was exposed to through my uncle, and just hearing stuff. You're not gonna you can't completely cut a kid off, who's curious anyway. So, but I'd have to, yeah, definitely pinpoint the older country as sort of like, the more secular influences that started to build up as a young kid. And when I'd see, occasional videos of these guys on stage and stuff too, you can't help but want to, especially someone who was musically inclined to just start finding heroes in Keith Whitley and I mean George Strait and Merle Haggard, and when you're from Oklahoma too, there's a lot of greats that have come from here. So yeah, I mean, I think definitely country music, and then the gospel exposure, of course, probably my early influences.
Well, and you talk about, being in Oklahoma, you got a ton of great artists from there. And then just in that whole region, Texas, Arkansas,
Yeah.
you name it in that area. So what impact, though, did growing up in Oklahoma have on you?
Yeah, well, like, it's a Midwestern Bible Belt, kind of atmosphere around here. There's a lot of, I think the saying is true. There's a lot of congeniality, or I make friends easily, and I think that's part of my exposure to just maybe the slowness of this kind of upbringing in this area of the world. So, I mean, that and the communities of people that I met after I left the church too. I think being embraced and finding friends, and that was easy to do after I kind of left the church community, and I would attribute that to the Oklahoma, feeling, or I don't really know what you call that, but it's definitely there's a thing about the South and the Midwest.
Yeah, a little Southern hospitality, right?
Yeah, that's what I was trying to think of. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, and you talk about once you kind of left the church, you ended up having, I believe, an office job. And
Yeah.
is it true that being laid off really turned out to be a blessing in disguise for you and this whole music thing?
Sure, without a doubt. I mean, it was an 8 to 5 kind of job, and it was a decent job too. Enough where I was making enough money to not take that big of a pay cut to go play bar gigs for 3 hours. But when I got laid off, I actually started a wedding business where we were kind of mixing live music and DJ'd stuff, and I've been I up until this last year I kind of was able to finally pull out of that altogether. But that was right out of getting laid off, and that kind of helped me keep this band. It paid for the records because I mean weddings pay pretty decently. And we were doing them, from here to Colorado, doing quite a few of them. So I was able to kind of use that to pay the guys to play the shows, to, put gas in the van, and just robbing Peter to pay Paul type of thing. So yeah, without a doubt, I don't think I would have taken the leap with that much safety net. You know what I mean? And I was recently married, and we, had a kid, and kind of right as I got laid off. So yeah, I don't think if that hadn't happened, I don't think we'd be sitting here.
Well, I'm glad it did because you're making
Sure.
some pretty good music, and
Thank you.
you know, for you kind of started out though more maybe as like a solo artist. You put out Living Rooms EP. You were producing for folks, session artist, all sorts of things. Was it just pretty much music and however you can make a buck? Is that kind of how it all,
Absolutely,
all
man.
was?
Yeah, and again, like I'm a people person too, so and I was rebuilding a community of people, and also growing as an artist myself because I had previously been writing worship songs, and I had a huge crisis of faith, so there was all this new exposure to stuff, and of course that inspires creativity and new songs, and a lot of those projects I would get involved in, helped me grow or meet the next person, and you know how it works, networking and just kind of building a community.
Well, and like I said, you were able to put out the Living Rooms EP, which was kind of a solo thing, but slowly but surely the band began to form.
Yeah.
So how did that kind of work? How did you? I'm guessing, like you said, you're a good people person, so I'm guessing people enjoyed being around you, and maybe just wanted to keep jamming.
Yeah, I met Gabe, who's kind of been the we call him the OG, the original Gabe. He he was there at those early open mics, and we kind of bonded over bluegrass. I was playing a lot more mandolins, and you can hear in Living Rooms, my record's a lot more acoustic, and that was kind of the vibe then. So Gabe kind of came in as I started playing shows after Living Rooms came out, and from there, all the guys in my band, Ryan Mignani and Tremaine Wade and Garrison Brown and Taylor Johnson, they're all, Taylor's a great producer, an incredible producer in the city and well known, and Ryan is an incredible videographer and well known in the city, photographer. Garrison does production with these huge EDM outfits, and Bobby's a videographer and an audio engineer as well. So I like some of these guys came in just because I needed their other services. You know what I mean? Ryan helped me shoot all the artwork for Living Rooms before, and it would be a couple more years before he'd joined Jason Scott in the High Heat. I was actually in a couple bands with him, just playing keys and stuff. Again, just trying to do anything I could to be a part of the music community. And from there, ended up taking him, stealing Ryan. And then Garrison was added. Taylor, when he came in on Castle Rock and kind of really took us from that Living Room sound to the output that you hear today, on American Grin and Castle Rock. A lot of that bed and texture and just balls is Taylor Johnson. But like I said, those people came into the band because we needed their help in other areas. And it's been such Gabe is incredible with socials and stuff, which, as you know, is just such a huge part of this business now. So we, as the music grew, Castle Rock success, we got more and more opportunities, and the 5-piece we have now is we've been going. I think Bob's been the newest member and it's been well over a year since he's been with us. So.
Well, and like you said, to have all those creative minds, even if it's something different, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's not maybe all songwriting or this or that, but to have all those creative minds, like you said,
Absolutely.
photography, videography, style, everything. What's it
Yeah.
like to kind of have all of that there? Because at least everyone probably kind of gets it to a degree.
Yeah, I mean, well, first off, it makes it a lot easier. You know what I mean? There's a lot of bands that don't have any of those elements and have to, hire out all the time. And now they're invested. You know what I mean? And we're all invested in this. What the growth that's happening here and this label deal, Leo 33, that's come on. And every time we're together, we're doing something like that. I mean, not only is it awesome for building a small business because those are all the elements that we need, but it's also great to just hang with your friends and just the creative input that's always flowing. It's great to just hang out with these guys too. So.
Well, and, I'm curious too, Jason and the High Heat, where did the name come from? And, or how did it come to be?
Yeah, I think because of just, how powerful all these guys' contributions were, we wanted to kind of move this into, a band name, not just make it about me. And we, the simple version is we had a massive list of names that we kept just tossing around. And I think we were at Mile Zero Fest, one of the early years that the band got to go. And I just sitting around the pool, and I think that's where we kind of really landed on the High Heat. And when we came back, I think the first iteration of that, the first time we had it on a marquee, was at the Tower Theater not long after that, at Hangout in Mile Zero Fest. So I mean, there's no super interesting origin story here, but it's better than some of the other names we had, which were like Dad Behavior, and I can't think of. There were a couple doozies on there.
I feel like if nothing else, some of those maybe need to just be on a T-shirt.
Yeah, there's some good ones in there. I think too, we're all kind of, I grew up in church, so every Sunday you dressed up in your best clothes, and I enjoy doing that a lot. And Gabe and Ryan, everybody in the band is very kind of fashion forward, and the High Heat kind of has an element of that. And we all like baseball. Gabe's used to play a lot, and so there's some references there. There's some ways we thought we could take it marketing wise. Maybe our own High Heat hops at some point, or our own High Heat bourbon.
See, I like it. See, the clever. See, you can play all sorts of different ways with that.
Sure.
And, you talk about, we'll get to American Grin here in a second, but the first full album that you guys put out was Castle Rock in 2022. Yep. And to get the feedback you kind of got on that and to see the success it had, can you take me through just kind of what it was like to put that out in the world and get some good positive things come back?
Yeah, I mean, just from we had kind of come out of a pandemic. Actually, Castle Rock was supposed to come out the week before the world shut down. Like we pulled it, thankfully, and waited a year. And, because people were consuming media at such an insane rate. I mean, records just gone overnight, you know what I mean? It also helped waiting when we came back because the touring schedules with everybody were so wild and up in the air, and you had artists that weren't playing at all. I think that opened some opportunities for us. And then we also had a radio team. It charted very well. We were kind of doing all this ourselves at that point, just independently. But we had some people service it to radio, and from that we got some Luck Reunion festivals and Mile Zeros, and started just being able to string some live opportunities together for larger exposure. And it's also to see people. It was incredible to see people react to the music that we had worked really hard on. I think our music's a little bit unique, and it maybe even has taken us longer because it's a little harder to kind of fit us into a certain box, which seems to be something that makes music industry people the most comfortable. But yeah, I mean, it's incredibly uplifting and rewarding to see, something that you care about. And some of those songs are incredibly personal to see people relate to them. We've had so much response to a song called The Stone, which is, a veterans song. And just during that time, there was a lot of, well, maybe I won't go down that road, but I know that song has impacted people who have had that experience, and there's a lot of them. And that alone, to see songs really touch people, and maybe that's some of my church upbringing I'm talking about, but I really, that's what I want my music to do, and what we want our music to do. I feel like our live show is full of moments, too, that make people feel things.
Well, and I think that's what the best part about music is people, or when it's done right, is people can see themselves in the music and in the
Yeah.
lyrics. And on American Grin, you co-wrote every song with former band member, now producer Taylor Johnson. What was that like to kind of be you two just kind of working through stuff and being able to create what ended up being American Grin?
Well, for me, it's incredible because Taylor's incredible. And like I'm a sponge, and he's just, again, too, I was absorbing so much different music and stuff too. So I mean, it was incredible. We still write together. We're writing a lot for this next LP that'll might come out in 26 or something like that. But I love working with him. In fact, his studio used to be under this bank tower. They're in the process of moving, but where they were was a studio that like Vince Gill recorded in, and just under a parking garage in this huge bank tower. Just a really kind of cool space that he had been in for a long time. So I think the room, and we got to go to Sonic Ranch for a lot of American Grin, which is another just magical place. He's very easy to work with and just highly skilled, so makes sessions fun.
Well, like I said, there's some great songs. One of the songs I love, and it's been out for a little while, is "Me and the Bottle."
Yeah.
For folks that are getting to take a listen to it, what can they expect, and how did things change between Castle Rock to this one? Because I'm guessing y'all got a little bit more in tune, grew up a little, and things like that.
Yeah, I think I don't know that much has changed between Castle Rock and American Grin, other than just really kind of pushing more of the musical sonic boundaries. Like American Grin was written a lot in the van and on the road, while we were, trying to independently sell this thing. So a lot of these songs are, just experiences that we've had over the last 4 or 5 years, which have been crazy. A lot has happened. And when you're out on the road, some of that's just kind of in your face at times. And you're constantly meeting new people, and your songs affect people differently. And I'm kind of, I try to keep my antenna up as whenever possible, because you never know what could be another, hook. So I think just my continued exposure, and then the band's continued exposure to American life as a band on the road, is what kind of shaped that. And I think, I think growth in songwriting, and then we kind of pushed, like I said, more into this kind of high country westerny sound that we're kind of trying to blend country rock and kind of spaghetti western sounds together.
Well, it works out fantastic, and like I said, I hope everyone gives American Grin a listen. And why the name American Grin for the album?
It was a lyric in a song that we didn't end up including, but I just felt, like, to me, a grin, there's all kinds of grins, and I think, just like I said a few minutes ago, the exposure to what we were going through on the road, and what was just happening in American, history through that time. There's a lot of knee-jerk reaction, a lot of positive things too, and a lot of difficult things. I mean, being on the road is hard, especially when you're booking it yourself and making $250 a show. So sometimes all you can do is smile, dude. Grin and bear it, certainly. And we like to think of ourselves as an inviting group of dudes. We want our music to be inclusive. We want our music to touch all and everyone. And I think, maybe American Grin is a welcome, an invitation to come see a show. I certainly feel like it kind of encapsulates the whole feeling of these 13 songs that are on here.
I love it. A good play on words. Again, one you can take a few different ways depending on your mood. And
Sure.
and you talk about being on the road. You guys have been road warriors. You guys do a lot of touring. What's the best part
Yeah.
about being on the road and playing on a stage for y'all?
Well, for me, I mean, playing live is not far off from that feeling I used to get in church, when everybody's sort of come together with, the intent of singing together and, just that feeling. Everyone knows that feeling, whether it's a rock concert or church, it's the music that's doing it. So that's the high I chase and will, endlessly. I think right before shows too, I get so much like nervous anxiety. It's like right before you skydive or something. And that feeling's just incredible. And also being on the road is insane, especially in a van. We've been following like Blackberry Smoke around, and they get to drive. Someone drives them while they sleep at night. You know what I mean? And we wake up the next morning and do 7 hours just to show up, play for 40 minutes, and get off stage as quickly as possible. And there's just a chaos to it, dude, that I find so addicting. And you got to have the right cast, and I think we do, and it makes all this so much more enjoyable. And we've got some hope. We've got a little wind in our sails now too, so it feels like we're really driving towards something, man.
Well, and you get, like you said, you got Blackberry Smoke. You guys have, you mentioned Mile Zero. You did Stagecoach, Born to
Yeah.
Race Festival. You've, opened for like Eli Young Band, the Band of Heathens, Josh Abbott. So what's it been like to kind of see that growth and be able to do those things?
Well, I mean, it's the reason why you do it. It's incredibly fulfilling, and there's a lot of loss monetarily. It's a lot of upfront investment. You know what I mean? Both time, energy, and money. To see that tide kind of turning a little bit is awesome, and like reinvigorating too. You know what I mean? When you got to drive, when you have to drive 24 hours before to get to the gig that your tour starts with. Sometimes you're like, but then you get on stage and it's all worth it. So the little success we're having and then starting to snowball, man, has been, it's rewarding, invigorating, and just makes me want more of it.
Well, I'm hoping more follows with American Grin, and I
Sure.
always love asking this one too, because at the start I always ask what's your go-to drink, favorite drink, and I'm curious to see what your answer will be on this one. What's your favorite song right now to perform?
High Country, probably. High Country has this little moment in it where this trumpet part comes in, and on the record it's still really beautiful and powerful, but live, man, it's just a whole nother experience, and just stops people in their tracks and gives me those goosebumps. We really enjoy playing that one. Yardwork's really fun. There's one coming out called Get in Line that it's just full of fury, and it's really fun to play. I love, there's another one coming out called Interstate of Mind. That's just kind of a slow, rambling song. I really like that one a lot too. So,
Well, see, I love that too, and I feel like when you're live, you can always do a few more fun things with a song, and that's what makes it
Yeah.
even extra special. So those folks
Yeah.
that may be a fan get to see a whole different side of a song they never thought.
absolutely, yeah, man. Yeah, just bring it to life, bring it out of the digital realm.
And as you guys are putting out the album, by the time our chat drops, the album will be out.
Yeah.
What else can folks expect from you in 2025? Because I'm there's still a lot of time left in the year, and a lot to do.
Well, yeah. For one, just please follow us, because we're probably coming to a city near you soon. Our touring's really exploding, so and we'd love to see you in any one of these places we're going to be playing. And then also there might be some rumors about like an extended edition of American Grin with some extra songs. I don't I don't even know if I was supposed to say that, but I can't say any more than that. But maybe later in the year there might be a couple more additional songs that people haven't heard.
Ooh. So if you get in trouble, it's not my
Maybe.
fault.
That's right. It's my fault. I'll blame
Well, no,
the I'll
I
blame
was
the
gonna
water I'm
say,
drinking.
yeah, exactly. What's it like though to also have Leo 33? I know an independent label that's put together quite a lineup of artists behind you, supporting you, and to kind of be part of that family.
Uh, Amazing. They're amazing people. They've also have a hell of a track record already with Zach Top and some other people that they've added to their roster. Dude, I mean, this record would have been out July of 24, and likely by now, well, I mean, who knows? But we would have had a lot, tougher road to hoe than we do now. They're helping us, take a small business hopefully into a global brand. And they're also just incredible people. And that was one of the reasons we moved forward with them, is just the hospitality, the obvious passion they have for music, and I mean, Zach Top's killing it, dude. So very thankful to have them as a team, and already they've made such a massive impact too. So it feels real good.
Well, I can't wait to see what's next for y'all. Like I said, I've loved everything I've gotten to hear off American Grin. I think folks are going to really enjoy it. And Jason, man, I can't wait to see what's next for you in the high heat.
Thanks, Jonathan. I appreciate it.
Find more from Hops and Spirits at hopspirits.com.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.